Hi, welcome back to another video of Harmony and Peace. I'd like to talk about boundaries today, which I feel it's important in life with family, friends, and on a day-to-day basis. Boundaries, very vital. I feel sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, when we saying yes to everyone and everything and this and that and this and that, you do neglect yourself as a person. And I feel like when that happens, you then don't know your own purpose in your own life and your goals, where you want to go and your dreams, and you silence yourself, your inner self as a person, and you do neglect yourself because you're catering for everyone else's needs. I'm not saying not to be there for family and friends and colleagues, work colleagues, but when you start giving out and pouring out to the world, where do you put yourself? Where do you put yourself first? You have to put yourself first, and you have to put yourself first before anything else. Then after that, then you can start, giving out and, providing and caring, because without your boundaries, you've got no goals. Without your boundaries, you can never be authentic to where you want to be and speak the truth. And sometimes it's quite scary when people don't like to hear the truth when you have boundaries, because everybody's got boundaries. And if you don't stick to your boundaries, you end up deregulating. Your nervous system starts to be onto panic mode, and you can't say no, and you're always saying yes to everything. And I feel with that, we have to make sure that is important, because if we lived a life of saying yes to everything, you're like the bouncer to your world. Anyone that you let in or anyone you let out. But also at the same time is how much you tolerate and how much you say yes and no to at the same time. We've managed to silence ourselves for so long and not to be authentic. And this starts from when you're a lot younger, at early ages, from the part of when in the family environment could be, I won't say toxic, but more, loud. And I feel when your voice is not being heard, you start to suppress your feelings. I've been in that for a while, and I feel for so long when you don't say what you want to say and you get trapped. But I feel it's important that you talk about these things and you be authentic and the way you want, because the world and the way we see things is like this. I can be authentic, or are you accepting me as a person or the performance of me as a person? There's two different sides to this. Are you accepting me as Sean, or if it's whoever it is, if it's Joe, Darren, whatever, or are you accepting the other version of that person who's performing and being something that they're not, to fit in or to be liked or whatever? And it's okay, but the way I see it is, it's like people are going to not like that, and people will feel uncomfortable when you say no, because what happens when you don't put boundaries in straight away and you start saying no, people will start to feel uncomfortable and they'll start to feel a bit funny. But what happens is, and it's no one's fault, it happens from early age when you're younger, is that you have to start telling yourself no, because people will see the lens of what they used to see of you being the way you was. You'd say yes to this, do that. The moment you start saying no, people, family, friends will feel uncomfortable seeing that other version. It doesn't mean that you don't care. It's just that it's taking you a while to understand how to form boundaries. Maybe you've not been taught that. Maybe that you've not really been consistent with that. I feel it's important to your well-being, your health, and emotional. Also, you don't get stressed. You can be at peace. You don't have to put a performance for that person because you want that person to like you. And it's okay because, in life, we're not going to like everyone, and it's just human nature. It's a law. All you can do is be authentic to yourself and be true to yourself, the way you want to show up in the world and the way you want to be for yourself. And that's what matters, as long as you're kind and caring. And sometimes we get it wrong. I'll get it wrong. I feel sometimes it's just a matter of how you communicate and how you articulate yourself. But also that comes down to, again, how your life has been when you're younger. But it's about unlearning the patterns of what you used to know when you was younger, and understand to have boundaries is being authentic and being whole to yourself. And also it's a matter of fact that you have a clear guidance of in your own direction, because if you have no boundaries and you don't stick to these boundaries and you don't put yourself first, not saying to be selfish, there's a difference, but also knowing to have a balance, but also it's being self-aware of other people's emotions, other people's feelings, because we get caught up into that, to where everyone has their own boundaries for different reasons, different, things there and there. But also it's just a matter of the fact to understand their boundaries. But if people haven't got boundaries for themselves, protect their own energy, and also to achieve what they want in their own life and their own goals, to where they need to go in life, and also protect your own space, because it's important to protect your own space. Because if you don't, you could drift away, and things can occur where, to the point that I feel you don't achieve the way you want to go in life. You don't achieve the things that you want to do for yourself, because you're putting everyone else first before yourself. Everybody's got goals where they want to achieve. Everybody wants to live the full life they want. But sometimes we play our act in certain parts of life where we try to fit in into a certain point, like into a box, to kind of be fitted in, because it does stem from childhood. You're trying to fit in to be approved, to say that you want to prove a point, or you're trying to achieve something to a point where you want to be seen, you want to be heard, because there's some part of your life you probably didn't feel that way, you wasn't good enough, you feel that you wasn't good enough to do this, and you want to prove a point to those people, to fit in that environment. But that part is being an act, because you're being an act just because you want to fit in with those people. But then you're not being authentic to yourself, because it's mentally mostly draining. I used to do that. And to be honest, it doesn't help in the long run. You have to be your authentic self, and you have to be in a line with yourself. What makes you feel whole in yourself, and what makes you feel the point you're going in that right direction. And this could form in different ways. You could do it with family, you could do it with friends. When you don't have boundaries and you're like a you're like a doormat, you could say doormat Sean, or doormat Richard, or doormat Carol. People can walk in and out, back and forward. And where does it stop? Because when you keep doing that, and over due time, the body keeps a score, and automatically you'll keep saying, yeah, come in, wide open, come in. Sometimes you have to say no. And sometimes, depending what it is, and it depends on the circumstances, as long as you know that person, if it's family or friends, doesn't mean that you don't care. And it doesn't mean you don't care about family and friends or colleagues. And I'm going to say this, and I'll repeat it again, is that you have to draw a line. You have to do it from the get-go, because family do it, friends do it, work colleagues do it. So why can't you put boundaries in for yourself? Because it works both ways. And something that I've learned over the years and understanding, I had no boundaries, to be honest. But the difference is now I have, and it's learning to identify having those boundaries. And I'll talk about communication in another video, because I think sometimes people struggle to communicate and articulate, and that's your own attachment style. But again, that's another topic I'll go into in another video. But the main thing is having boundaries, and also not hiding behind the mask to be something that you're not. So you're being something else to fit in with another crowd and another crowd and another crowd. Just be your true authentic self, be the way you want to be the way you want to show up. And the biggest thing when you have boundaries, because one day I could say, no, I'm not doing that today. Or I could say, listen, I'm doing this for someone else, but I've got to say no. And sometimes in the back of your head, subconsciously, your mind starts to play tricks, and you'll start to think, oh, I don't want to say no, because I want to keep the peace. I'll just say yes anyway, just to keep the peace with everyone else. But over due time, what happens? You'll start to suppress, and you'll shrink. So you're like this, you'll shrink and shrink and shrink. You'll stay quiet, and you'll stay quiet for so long. But also, you go blinded for so long, saying yes, and you'll start to forget the thing what make you happy, because you've not set boundaries for yourself. I don't believe in the whole part of keeping quiet, because we're here to, enjoy life, to be in peace, and to learn and to grow and to be authentic. It's about learning. We all make mistakes and things happen. I've been down that road, but it's just about evolving. It's about understanding the parts of yourself where did it come from? Where did it start? Why these boundaries not being put in place? And you have to start practicing slowly little things to say no, not the big things. You start from small first. So you say, no, I can't do that tomorrow, or no, I can't do that till next month. And you'll start to see who's going to be there and who's not going to be there. But also that person will understand you and understand you as an individual because of how close they are and what you've been through. Because I think sometimes people forget that, and they actually do. And I feel if you start from the small things, I'll give you an example. It could be, I can't go out this month, I can't go out this week, or I bought tickets for someone and I've said someone else. If that person starts to argue, or I won't say get confrontational, but if it's tickets, or if it's lending money, and you can't do that, and they start to be a bit funny, they have to really reflect and understand there could be multiple reasons why you're saying no, but also understanding if they're saying no, you have to stand your ground. You don't cave in, or you don't, oh, you know what? Because what happens if you haven't got it to do it? What happens if something else is happening in your life that other person doesn't know when you're saying no? Because I think we tend to forget these things, and we tend to forget these things can happen also as well. Boundaries like a building block. You literally like a wall. You literally like no one's coming in and protecting my peace and your values and your beliefs and how you want to vocalize to the world what you want to say to people, but also just being polite. They might not accept your boundaries, but they're not you. Who they are, they've got boundaries, but you respect their boundaries. But how come they don't respect yours? And this again comes down to the fact of what you need to say to yourself. You start from small, you say no to the small things, then you work yourself up and say the bigger things. And then reflect, journal, write these things down and reflect on the day, what you said. And that's another thing. And if you're struggling to have boundaries, you speak to someone who's close to you, a friend who knows you deep in and out, because sometimes we don't look at the mirror and ourselves, we're a reflection. So when we're going out to the world and we don't identify these things, your friends might see things in yourself that you might not acknowledge. But it's okay. You don't close it off, you don't suppress it, you don't push it underneath the carpet, because we all need boundaries. The moment you push that underneath the carpet, then what happens then? We're not an act, we're not a circus where we put up a clown face like this and we pretend to be something to fit in for someone else. As long as you stick to who you are, and you be your true authentic self, and also that person will accept you for you and respect your boundaries as well. But sometimes that could be crossed. That's a straight no. All I'm saying to you is it's important to have these boundaries. You be authentic, you're at peace, you do regulate your nervous system, you're calm, you're at ease, and check in with yourself. You can go for a walk, give yourself space, time for yourself to reflect, because it will impact you emotionally and mentally if you don't have boundaries for yourself and protect your own peace. Doesn't mean that you're nasty, but also just to check in. And if you need someone else to help you to check in, let them do it. If it's family, friends, but also when you've done that, you go back and reflect and you be consistent with your boundaries. You don't one day have boundaries, another day you open the door, come in, wide open, come in. Like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, you have your boundaries, it's important. So, and you do feel better in yourself as well when you have your own boundaries, because you can be the best version that you can be and the best authentic person for yourself. You'll show up to your family, you show up to your friends and work colleagues. Sometimes you might need your own space to reflect and to work that out, but some people might not understand that. But that's part of the subconscious mind, knowing that you've been in that part of your brain where you've always said yes, and you've not looked at how does it feel to say no. Just remember that.